This is a very scenic drive from the mountaintop to the sea in Cebu Island, the Philippines. I'm starting in Dalaguete province up on top of the mountain, very close to Osmeña Peak, which is the highest peak in on Cebu Island. And if you stop the video, this is a 360-degree video. You can, if you're watching on a smartphone, which most of you are, just turn the phone around. Just turn yourself around in a circle. You can look up, you can look down on my helmet, on the motorbike. You can look backwards, whatever direction you want to. If you're on a tablet or a touchscreen computer, you can just use the touchscreen to move around. There should be an icon in the upper left-hand corner. If you have a cursor on a computer, you should be able to use that to move around the screen. And so if you got a smart TV, watching YouTube there, not quite sure how you maneuver there, would depend upon your device. Now, I've had people tell me the video is very high quality, and I've had people tell me that it's poor quality. What you need to do on the YouTube is go down to settings, and depending upon your internet speed and your computer, a lot of times YouTube will give you only 200, will give you the lowest quality setting because of your computer and or speed. So you need to bump that up to high definition, 1080p at least, 720p, 1080p preferably, and even above that if you can on your device, and you will get much better quality. Also, I mentioned different videos. I don't put music on my videos. If you want music, you probably don't like the kind of music I would put on there. So turn your own music on if you want to listen to music. If I was traveling by myself, and I've said this different times, the more people you travel with, the more complicated it gets. And if I was traveling by myself on this motorbike, I would have taken an extra day and I would have went hiking up here in the mountains. I would have done some more exploring. But as it was, I was meeting my girlfriend took the bus. She says she gets cramps riding on motorbikes, so she took the bus about 3.5 hours, and I rode my motorbike a lot longer direction. And because I was on a time schedule, she actually beat me to Moalboal, a big tourist area on the west side of Cebu Island, snorkeling, scuba diving, restaurants, resorts, bars, lots of things to do in that area. Now, for those of you who watched my previous video, you probably know, hey, I've seen this before. Yeah, the first 18 and a half minutes of this video is from the previous video I did. And I did 2 videos going all the way down and over to Moalboal, down to Badian, over to Moalboal. Look at that view. If you turn just a little bit to the right, you can see the ocean down there already. So if you want to skip this part, that didn't get that many views, so I decided to put them together for people who might want to just come along for the ride. You can go out to about 18 and a half minutes. That's where I had to stop at a construction roadblock for about 30 minutes. And I did not include that sitting 30 minutes in the video. Clipped all that out. But anyway, I'm going to get into some real rough construction road here where it's not paved up here. Then once we get through the construction zone, I have a lot of hairpin turns and interesting areas, some nice sights, scenic areas. If you want to live in the province in the Philippines, it'll give you a little bit of an idea what's available in this part of Cebu anyway. And this whole area up here is, you wouldn't think of it way up on top of the mountains, but it's much cooler once you get up above a certain elevation. Starts cooling off, and they grow a lot of vegetables and fruits up here on the mountains that will not grow on the in the hotter climates. hotter weather. And now I'm on this real slippery talc, limestone, powdery grooves and pebbles and gravel, and really challenging. I'm down. I think I'm in first or second gear. I think looks like I'm going faster than I really am. And a few days later, about 4 days later, I drove back up this, and I put that video up as well, and I laid it over. I was going real slow, and I slipped and laid it over. I didn't get hurt, just I got a swollen toe for a few days. I will put at the end of this ride, I will put the map up, Google Maps, and show you the trip, and show you an alternative way to go as well. But yeah, you can stop the video at any time if you just want to look around. There again, got a smartphone, just turn your phone, look to the side, look to the back, look up, look down. I think that was honk saying hello, so I honked back. Cebu Island and other islands are, well, Cebu Island is a long, relatively narrow island, and Cebu City is, along with Davao City, are the two biggest cities after Manila area. And anyway, it's a long island and pretty much mountainous. There are flatter areas in the north, but pretty much mountainous the whole way. And there are a number of roads that go up over the mountain. If you want to go from the east side to the west side, you're gonna go over the mountains unless you take the really long way all the way around the island. And I've done that. But I want to take more of these mountain roads because there are some fantastic views up here. The whole mountain area up here is called the food basket, I think, food basket of Cebu, because there's so much food, vegetables, fruits that come out of this area. Cabbage and guava, onions, and carrots, and tomatoes probably. There's also a lot of imported things. You go to the markets and you will find different items. Apples, I don't think we grow apples, or at least not very many here in the Philippines. Apples, oranges, there are lots of imported fruits that come in, some vegetables. Potatoes, sweet potatoes, camotes, just a ton of things that are grown here. But you go to the market and you ask them, where do they come from? Well, they might come from Mindanao, might come from Luzon, other islands in the Visayas. You just never know. I went to buy some lettuce the other day, and they were smaller than I normally get, smaller heads, I think, and they came from different areas. Same thing with the carrots that I bought, I think, came from different areas. For whatever reason, didn't have access, or the prices will vary, of course, depending upon what part of the country they come from, how much shipping is involved. Seasonal, a lot of this stuff depends on the season. The supply and demand has some factor. And as I've read the news reports over the year, there are people, groups that try to control, like with any commodity, try to control prices, get higher prices, manipulate the market a little bit at times. Shortages, at various times we'll have shortages of even sugar, even though this is a big sugar producing country. We also import a lot of rice from different islands, different countries, as a matter of fact. The Philippines, as I've said in other videos, is a very small country, but with a very huge population. About 113, 115 million people, and growing, and relatively young population. I'm going to pull over up here, and if you look off to the right, you'll see Badian Island. There is a province called Badian. It's like a county in the USA. And you might be able, depending upon your device, you might be able to even zoom in and zoom out as well and get a closer up view here. But you have Badian Province, and I'm in Badian Province now. And then you have Badian Town. I will go down into Badian Town after I follow this road. And you have Badian Island. And Badian Island has, I think, at least 2 resorts there. One kind of a wellness resort. Not sure of the details, but you can find information online. When I was looking, exploring the various routes I might take, the Google Maps told me that part of this road was unpaved, and didn't really know what that meant, how bad the road would be, and I imagined some bad areas and some gravel roads, and I hesitated, but I finally decided, no, I'm going to take the road. I'm going to take the road. I'd heard there were some great views up here, and glad I did. It was a good experience. And there are other options. There are other roads that go up and across the mountains, and another time I will take those roads. I know there are quite a number of expats, foreigners with their wives, girlfriends, who live in the province. And you know, every place is a province in the Philippines. But province, when you say that, generally means outside of the cities. And I've been told from early on, sir, go find a girl in the province. They're not corrupted. They're not materialistic yet. They haven't spent that much time in the city, and so that's an option. And you'll find that each island has its own personality. Some islands, the people are more conservative, more. They're all family related, family clans and tribes. In some areas, even. I know our Philippine agricultural secretary a number of years ago, he went down to part of Mindanao and to check on, I think there was a shortage of rice, and there were people kind of sneaking rice in from different places, and he went to kind of check that area out, and he said the first thing somebody asked me is, what tribe are you from? So it's, families, you'll find that families, extended families, live in their own little villages, compounds with lots of. I've been up in the mountains a few different places with the subscribers and friends, and pretty much everybody in that area is part of the extended family. And one thing, if you're going to live in the province too, how far are you going to be away from a grocery store or a doctor or a hospital that has can treat more serious types of items? Something to think about. What do you think of this 360 camera? I would say, I'm guessing about 95% of the people with 360 cameras, and there are a number of companies that make them, and they've been improving, and the software for editing have been improving, especially the last couple of years. Most people use the 360 to capture, and I'm capturing 5.7K video, but it's spread over 360 degrees. Most people will, and I could do this here. I could edit it and say, okay, now I want you to look this direction, and now I want you to look over this direction, and you would not have the ability to turn it around and look whatever direction you want. My file sizes would be much smaller if I did that, but because I'm offering up the whole 360 degree experience, my files are larger. But I prefer to do that so that you can even stop the video, look around. I know you get the wind noise, which is kind of annoying, but it's pretty much impossible to get rid of that. I think there is software that you can use to try to take that out of the out of your videos, and I've something I'll have to play with in the future, I guess. In my editing software, and I've got the Insta 360 times 3 camera, and the software that comes along with that. So I have to edit my video twice actually. I use that, and then I have to use some other video to get it up, editing software to get it up into YouTube or wherever else I'd want to upload it to. They have a setting, noise reduction setting, but it pretty much drowns out everything. It would drown out the sound of the motorbike and anything else as well. And I guess my approach is that I think it's important for you to get a feel of the sound. The sound helps you get a feel for what's going on the road. I've got the camera mounted on top of my helmet, as a matter of fact. And if you look down, turn the video down, that you'll see the top of my helmet. I spent 4 days on this trip, and once I get out of town, getting out of town is the challenging part with the traffic and everything else. Once I'm out of town, I want to stay out of town for a while, and a lot of Filipinos, they get 1 day off of work, and if you're traveling with Filipina, a lot of 1-day trips, and we were able to make a 3-day deal out of this, and then I stayed out an extra day. I wanted to do a little more traveling, and I almost wish I would have stayed out another week. But a couple things, like I've said before, you need to travel. You need time, you need money, and you need energy, motivation. And any given time, I'm lacking 1 or 2 of those items. And anyway, it was a fun trip, and I hope to do more traveling. I spent 2 nights in Moalboal, 3 days, 2 nights, I guess. Then I came back over the mountain, and I went south out of Dalaguete, went south down near Oslo, I think, and stayed a night at a relatively cheap plain resort down there, but it was on the ocean. It was nice. I met some really nice Filipinos who were staying there that were from Cebu City. They decided to get out of town, and they came down. They were cooking. They were cooking dinner about the time I got there, and they invited me for dinner. I was kind of tired. I wanted to walk down the road a little bit and explore a little bit, and then in the morning they invited me for breakfast. Just really great people. I had a few beers with them. I think 2 or 3 different families there. Anyway, this is the roadblock. I had to sit here for 30 minutes, and they've got a rope across the way, and they're widening the road. They're cutting away at the bank to make sure it doesn't have a landslide, or at least reduce the chances that there's going to be a landslide there. And then just in a couple seconds, I'm going to go on my way here because I cut out the waiting part. So this is the construction. I'm going to meet some traffic up here just a little bit, and the narrow is too narrow. We're not all going to make it through there very easy, so I'm going to have to stop and let them pass by me, which is no big deal. No big deal. I think there were probably 5 or 6 other vehicles that were waiting there with me, and I let them all go ahead of me. I didn't want that dust flying up in my face, so I let them get ahead of me a ways. And real fine powdery stuff, real kind of slippery to drive on. I don't know if it's limestone or what it is, but really quite slippery, dusty, and grooves in the road with gravel. That's the thing that scares me the most, the loose gravel, especially going around corners. You hit a little loose gravel and you're down just that fast. Now we're going down rather rapidly. Some places a pretty steep incline and a lot of hairpin turns, pretty tight turns, corners. If you're prone to getting dizzy, this is a warning to you. But yeah, a lot of great sights and greenery, and you wonder about all the people, the houses, the people that live up here. Are they in the agricultural business? Do they work on the farms? And there are farms all over these mountains up here. It just amazes me. And I don't think I saw any tractors. There might be some up here, but most of it's manual labor. Back further up the mountain, I saw these big things they put on their back. I don't know what they call them. They fill these big baskets that they carry on their back with, and that's how they harvest a lot of the different items out in the fields. They got a big harness and a basket on their back, and they throw the things in the back of the basket, and they carry it out to the farm where the trucks come, haul it down to the main market area. If you did not have your own transportation and you're coming from a province or Cebu or Mandawi, many of you, there's not an airport at Moalboal, so you're pretty much going to take a taxi. Taxi probably quote you between 3,000 to 4,000 pesos, 60, 70 US dollars for a 3.5, 4 hour drive over there, and about 100 kilometers, I think, about 60 miles, something like that. You can take a bus for about 200 pesos in 3.5 hours, depending upon the traffic and the day. 200 pesos, less than 4 US dollars for a 3.5 hour trip, bus trip over. And there are air-conditioned buses and there are non-air-conditioned buses, so beware of that. There are some buses that are more comfortable than others. I have found out the hard way that there are media buses that have at least one television up, and they got some movie or something blasting too loud for me, and I ended up on one of those buses from the north of Cebu back to Cebu City, and I said to myself, never again. If I want to listen to something, I'll listen to it on my phone. I'll download something to my phone or tablet or whatever. What about you guys that want to live in the province? How cheap can you live out here? Even in Moalboal, a touristy area, I have met a couple people different times, and even this last trip, European fella, and he'd been living in Moalboal for a couple of years, and he'd made an arrangement with the owner of some cottages, and he was renting a little cottage, very plain little place. I don't know what he had inside. He may have upgraded the bed and the furniture a little bit, but I suspect, he didn't tell me what he was paying. I suspect that he was paying less than 5,000 a month, 5,000 pesos, less than $100 a month. And you can convert that into euros, he was a European fella. And I don't know whether maybe cooked a little bit in his place, or maybe went out to eat all the time. When you're paying that little for rent, you can afford to go out and eat a lot more if you want to do that. There was talk a couple years ago about a group was going to build a medical center in Moalboal and cater to foreigners, cater to the foreign tourists there. Now, maybe somebody knows what the details are. Did that thing ever get built? Did the pandemic put it on hold? Is it still in the works? Moalboal, I think they have two malls there. The Gaisano Mall. Do they have an SM mall? Not sure. I think they've got two malls. It would be interesting to find out how many foreigners, expats, live in the province outside the cities, and how many live in the cities, different areas of the cities, whether you're living in condominiums, townhouses, other homes with lots, how many have businesses. I don't know if that kind of information is available anywhere, but I have met a few new foreigners, expats, here in the last few weeks, as a matter of fact. And one of them came from, spent I think several years in Thailand. He's been here for a while, and he says, definitely prefer the Philippines. And of course, the ease of your visa and the English language are two big categories for almost everybody. In fact, he was living out in the province. I think he said he was renting a townhouse for about 10,000 pesos a month, I think, something like that. 3-bedroom type place, south of Cebu City, hour or so. I think he said it was Minglanilla, just south of Talisay, I believe. There are a number of developments, and I've done a number of videos down there in developments. So if you're curious, you can check out those videos. I've got a whole playlist on condominiums and subdivisions. Depending upon where I lived outside the city, and I've 3 trips to the Philippines. I've lived here about 8 years, and I've had pretty good luck with electrical, not having brownouts for much longer than an hour or so, except during after Typhoon Odette. That was a major issue for a couple of weeks, and then even after that, even though the condo I lived in had backup generator, they ran out of fuel after a few days. And of course, everybody is scrambling trying to get diesel fuel, so there's a shortage of diesel fuel, and not enough tanker trucks to deliver to all the places that need them, the hospitals, the government, all the higher priority places. If I lived in the province, I think I would definitely have some sort of battery backup with a solar system, and I would definitely be catching rainwater. I would have a number of, I guess, food grade type containers that where I could catch and filter rainwater. I would have a water filtering system, and there's information online about, you can buy expensive systems, or you can make your own pretty good using various sands and activated charcoal. Number of ways to do that. I'm not an expert on it. One thing about living up in elevations, definitely cooler up there, although you can get your hot days as well. But yeah, coming down these hills, the various times I've gone over the mountains, there's a certain spot, and I can't tell you how many feet or how many meters above sea level it is, but it seems like there's a certain spot where if you're going up, it cools off quite rapidly. If you're coming down, of course, you start feeling the heat in that relatively small distance. I'm going to be coming in fact, I may be in the town of Badian, the town limits already. I'll come down here and we will make a lot of trucks loading, unloading. Might be some kind of vegetable warehouse there where they picked up some up in the mountain, probably at the big big market up on top, and yeah, here's the main road. The main road goes all around Cebu Island, and there are virtually no stop signs in on Cebu. Probably most of the islands of the Philippines. So you look and you go. Nothing coming, you go. If you're wondering why I didn't stop at that corner. And this is the town of Badian. Badian. I think Filipinos pronounce it Badian. It's Badian. And I'll have a map of this trip at the end of the video. And there is a white sand beach a little further south of Badian. And yeah, if I wasn't meeting somebody up here, if I wasn't on a time schedule, I would have gone down there. I was here a little over a year ago. I took my motorbike trip around Cebu Island, 5 days, and did a trip down there at that beach. But I would like to check out more of the resorts down in that area. I am curious of those of you who are still back in your home countries or other countries, how many of you are considering traveling still this year or early next year to the Philippines and settling down? I've had a number of comments, a number of emails telling me different people that they're coming. They're coming here still in August. Some are coming in September, some October. They've planned out. They bought their tickets. What they call the high season starts probably October, November, December. And December airline prices generally go up a little bit because a lot of Filipinos are coming home from, they're working over, millions of Filipinos are working overseas. They'll come home for Christmas season, and there's more demand. And then in January, February, prices of airline tickets usually go down. But in the next few months, if you check out, I've done a video about Google Flights. You can check by the calendar. You can check out quite a ways, and you can see where the cheaper flights are, if that's one of the main determining factors of when you're going to travel. My observation, my opinion, is that there's some economic recovery this year, and so there's still a lot of vacancies in a lot of the hotels. The hotel down the street from me still is not opened up. There just isn't enough demand, they tell me. Very little demand, so there's more rooms, a lot more rooms than there are people. Unlike 2019, when there was low vacancy rate in the hotels, resorts, and condominiums, so prices were going up and up and up and up with demand. Now there are lots of options. There's high vacancy rates. I think even during the high season this year, I personally think it's going to take another year. We're going to see an increase I have seen some tourist numbers. Koreans are starting to come back. And Americans, I think it's Koreans, Americans, some of the other Western countries, the other Asian countries are the top tourists at the present time. The top, you might not be a tourist, you might be coming in on a tourist visa. Even though you're not a tourist, you might renew that tourist visa for a number of years. You're allowed to, at the present time, you're allowed to continue to renew that 1 month, 2 months, or even 6 months at a time, up to 3 years before you have to leave the country, the Philippines. So it's, and you get a visa. Most countries get a visa on arrival. You just fly here and they stamp you, give you 30 days. There's talk, there's a law, I think, being discussed in Congress that they may change that to 59 days. But it has not passed as far as I have heard yet. So you're still in that 30-day period, and then you have to go to an immigration office and extend if you want to extend. Would also be interesting to get some information, data, how many foreigners come here just as a tourist. Maybe you're going to stay a month or two. How many come long term, planning to retire here? How many come hoping to work, be a nomad, and work, do your online work wherever you work in the world? As this guy right here, and it happens many times a day. Most people here don't drive very far. Their world revolves around their local community. Um, so they might pull over to the left to make a U-turn, or to make a they might pass you and then slow down real fast to make a left-hand turn. You really need to be on your toes and observant of what's going on around you. I know of foreigners who live in many of the various towns and provinces here in Cebu. There's one or two people live on the very south end, down around Santander. I've met people from Toledo, from Carcar, Talisay, going up north into the cities going north. Liloan, Compostela, Consolacion, Bogo, number of different towns up that way. I think there's more and more expats are going over and living in various areas on Bohol Island, as well as Panglao Island. There was a time, like I said, I've been here about 8 years, prior to me being there, when there was a lot less foreigners, and one guy told me even when you took a ferry over the north end of Bohol Island, it was hard to find a ride. If you needed to ride to, if you had a place over there you were renting, ride home or resort. But now there's, if you watch some of my other videos over there, there is a crowd of tricycle drivers, hobble drivers, waiting for you. Where do you want to go, sir? We're in, holding up signs with prices, how much they'll charge you to take you various places. You want to take a tour to the Chocolate Hills, or go diving. If I were going to move out of Cebu City, my thinking right now is, I didn't spend very much time in Iloilo, but I kind of like the area. And I think Iloilo would be my second choice. Bacolod is right up there, pretty much tied with Iloilo, pretty close. Although during the lockdowns, I think they were locked down, one of the last cities to open back up. I don't know if it was the local mayor there made those decisions. But that can change. You can have a new mayor in a number of years, and all that type of stuff can change. Baguio City, I've had people say, oh, they're going to Baguio City. They don't want the heat, and you're up there. You're 5,000 feet. A couple thousand meters high in the air, I think. So it's more like, it's cooler. Go up in elevation, it's cooler up there. Davao City, I'd like to visit there sometime, check out that whole area. CDO, which is on the north end, Cagayan de Oro, would be worth checking out, I think. Someday I want to visit the various areas up Luzon. Luzon is a pretty huge island, and they tend to get more effects from the typhoons over the course of a year, depending on what part you're in, especially the northern part and the eastern side. But you'll get a lot of typhoon-related flooding and stuff in many parts of Luzon as well. Maybe check out Subic Bay area. Maybe check out New Clark City. I think they call it New Clark City. Big planned type community up that way. Not so far from Angeles City and Manila. I get comments and emails from people all over the Philippines, and they they mention places, and then I've got to do a little research. I usually look them up on a map, see, well, where is that? I don't know exactly where that is, and I read a little bit about it. And they say, yeah, they love where they're at. So that's important. As long as you're happy, and when you consider moving, ask yourself those questions. What will make you happy? And part of it's state of mind. Part of it's state of mind. If you're not a happy person, well, you know, words affect your brain. If you've got negative thoughts and negative speech, that affects your brain. You know, I download a couple books every month, belong to audible.com. And yeah, we're coming into Moalboal here. I believe there was a mall just there on the right. And yeah, I mean, there have been times in my life I've had to adjust my attitude, adjust my thinking. I think all of us go through periods of time where we get down, we get just not happy campers, I guess. There was a time many months ago where when you came into town, you were supposed to register with the, I don't know, some tourist department. I think they had a little shack right off to the left there. In fact, the last time I came into town, I hadn't planned on staying in town over a year ago, and I did stay in town. The guy said, oh, didn't you register at the tourist bureau place? I said, well, no, I didn't. I didn't plan on. I just came down here by the beach, look around. I was going to continue on my journey. But then end up finding a really good rate and stayed there. So, and they would have checkpoints, different roads. They'd have checkpoints to make sure that you had checked in and paid your environmental fee or whatever they called it. Anyway, no more checkpoints. There were signs up that there were checkpoints, but didn't find any checkpoints. Now the main road going down Panagsama Beach, called Panagsama Road, was closed. They must be doing some repair. So I made this left turn, and I made this mistake of not making this left turn. I thought maybe that road was closed for a long time, so I was going to go down here quite a ways and make a left-hand turn, but I went too far, and I think I was headed actually towards the south end of town and White Beach. So I finally realized that wasn't going to get me where I wanted to go, my resort. So I ended up turning around and coming back this way. Anyway, it gives you a little idea of what the town, what the traffic is like. We drove through the main road that goes around the island, coming into town, and you get on these side roads. There's not a lot of traffic. They're reasonably well kept up. Interesting. When I was down here, I'll do another video about that. There is a fair amount of property for sale. The problem is a lot of that property is high priced. I was getting something welded on my motorbike. I walked down the street a little bit, and I ended up talking to a guy, and he said, are you thinking of moving here? I've got some really cheap land. It's kind of a for sale. The owner, his uncle, I think, had some bunch of medical bills or something, had to sell it quickly, and I'll do a video about that. And I think my girlfriend's helping him get it listed on a real estate site, I believe. Anyway, I'm going to pull over here and find out where I am and get turned around. Here's the map of the whole trip. So jumping over to Google Maps, we're so lucky to be able to use this. It says map dated 2023, so it should be pretty much up to date. And I'm starting this trip at Mentalongan, which is up on top of the mountains. Osmeña Peak is which is the highest peak in Cebu, is up in this area, not very far from where I'm at. Here it is right here, Osmeña Peak, and a number of other peaks you can go hiking. Here's a Casino Peak hiking trail, and one day I'm going to do that. But anyway, I'm on my motorbike and started here on this video and came down. You can see it's a lot of switchbacks, a lot of really tight curves coming down here to Badian. Here's the Badian Public Market. Part of Badian province, you have provinces that are called Badian. You have a town called Badian, and then you've got kind of a white beach here at Lambug Beach. Anyway, I came down here. I hit the main road that goes around Cebu Island, and I took it up to Moalboal. People tell me I don't say it right, but anyway, come in here and we get off the main road, and we go down here and Panaxma Beach area. This is where the Sardine Run is. You've got Pescador Island out here, big diving and scuba diving and snorkeling area, as well as a lot of snorkeling just right off here and diving, and a number of other areas as well. And you've got Panaxma Beach and you've got White Beach up in this area, two different main beaches here, and lots of resorts all along this area. Now, this map says 53 minutes, about 30 kilometers. I don't think so. They don't take into account the real curvy roads, the fact that you're moving in your very low gears, much until you get down here to Badian, then you can open it up a little bit. But still not that fast. The roads are not, well, they were relatively smooth, but just because of the traffic, and you just can't get up to what you'd call highway speed in the USA or Europe. Now they show another course here. This would be interesting. I had looked at this before my trip, and I thought this would really be fun to run along kind of the tops of the mountains, I think, and come down somewhere over in here. Next time, perhaps. And just as a reference to let you know where I'm at, I'm on Cebu Island. And Cebu City up here, this is where I left. It took me 3 hours to get down to Dalaguete down here, and another 2 hours, but really an hour and a half, because I spent like 30 minutes sitting at a construction stop up there. And there are a number of ways to get across these mountains. You got mountains across much of this area, and you can cross right out of Cebu City over here. You can come down here to Talisay and cross over. You can come down to Karkar City, cross over, and a couple other places too. I'd heard this was a really good scenic route. Decided to come all the way down here. Took me longer. The bus ride from up here was about 3.5 hours so it took me about 5 hours. And there again, just as reference, you got Bohol, which is real popular. You got Panglao Island and Alona Beach out here, kind of a white beach, very popular with tourists. And you got Dumaguete down here, very popular. Most of you know that. There's lots of vloggers down here. Negros Island, you got Bacolod City, and you got Iloilo City over here on Panay, and Guimaras Island. And of course you got Siquijor Island down here. So if you're still watching, there are probably a couple of you still watching anyway, let me know what you think of the 360 I was working out on your device. And I don't do a lot of 360, but I do some. And like I said, most people that use a 360 camera, they turn it into a flat video. It doesn't allow you to turn around and look where you want to look. I can decide where you're going to look by editing it that way. I can put marks, stops, and change the view, but I choose to let you view the whole 360 degrees. Anyway, thanks for watching. Stay safe, stay healthy, and safe travels wherever you're at.